for whatever goals you have, whatever you want to achieve, wherever you want to go, you want to transition from where you are now to another place, maybe a different version of yourself, maybe you want to achieve something. There is a path to take from where you are to where you want to be. And that path obviously has, it's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and it's also a lot of zigzags. And in all of that, you're going to have to be consistent with taking action in the right directions until you get there. That's basically the whole plan, right? That's why consistency is important. It's because without being consistent, you might, just like most people start, you might have a plan, you might have a vision. I want this. Oh my God, this sounds so amazing. It's me. I want that. But eventually, even if you make a plan, you see everything very clearly, like, yes, you are excited, but 3 months later, you quit. You stop, you lose your track, you lose motivation, and something happens and you stop. Well, because you have stopped before you got there, that's it. Like, your vision did not happen because, well, you were not consistent enough until you get there. So that's the value of consistency. But there is also this thing I've seen, people who believe that consistency is everything. But consistency is not really everything. It's not like, oh my God, if I just solve consistency, it means that I can achieve anything. No, because you have to be consistent in the right direction. If you're not consistent in the right direction, you might be consistent, but you're going, like off track. You're not really heading towards what you want. You think you do, but actually you don't. So you see, it's being consistent with your actions, heading in the right direction and staying on track in the same direction. Because sometimes you might be consistent and maybe again 3 months, 5 months later, although you are still consistent, you kind of like shifted, you deviated a little bit from the path, and now you are still consistent and you still think you are going there, but now because you have slightly adjusted, shifted over a long enough period of time, you're going to just go further and further from where you wanted to end up. So you're consistent, but you won't get there. So all of this, of course, adds a lot of complexity, and all of this has to be solved, I guess, methodically. In order to have like a plan and to achieve what you want, to achieve your goals and dreams, to really be the person that sets a vision and gets there, obviously you have to manage yourself on multiple levels. On one side, you have to learn how to be consistent. You have to really be the person that is consistent, and then also learn how to draw yourself, put yourself, come back, always realign yourself on the right track, right? So those two go hand in hand, developing consistency and also developing a mind that you can really analyze and see the distinctions between what's the right way and what's the wrong way, what really looks like I'm going in the right direction and what is a trap, what is really actually a false start. All of this, I'm just saying it. I'm not going to go in depth with all of them because it's a lot, but I'm just saying consistency is important. And knowing in which or where you go also is important, but you have to solve them one by one. It's almost like different skills, right? You cannot really master both of them into one, like, oh, I'm achieving my goals. Like, no, you have to master them individually as like separate skills. Now, let's talk about habits, because I want to start with habits. Habits are, for me, are kind of like the old way of just achieving things. People think that habits are the way, and in what I used to call the personal development 1.0, habits were everything. Everyone was talking about habits. Oh my God, habits are important. Habits are everything. But in reality, habits are just a way for your body to save some energy, to automate some small processes that you do every day, such that they become automatic. So you're not really mindful. You're not mindful about them. You're not really thinking about them. How do I brush my teeth? It's just automatic. How do I drive the car? It's also automatic, right? Or well, a habit would be driving to work, right? Driving to work, if you take the same route every day, it's just like automatic. You just go left, you go right, you go here and there, and you just like you get there even if you are on your phone or whatever, just like completely lost. So habits are good for that, but habits are not really good for you to build the life that you want. Habits are just like a support network for your little actions that you repeat and you do every day, but not for achieving your goals and dreams. And that's very important. Here is the reason why actually habits, most people don't understand this, why habits actually are not really going to get you to design your life, to design the life that you want, to change yourself as a person, to become a different person, to grow yourself. Here's why. Habits are dependent on like what's really your, I guess, your default or your surrounding, your environment, how things happen. I'll give you an example. Let's say that, let's take the most common habit, brushing our teeth, right? People take this for granted. They think like, oh, I'm brushing my teeth every day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day, so this is like a habit, right? And it not just like it's a habit, but it's more like something that it's there to stay. It's like so strong, it's automatic, it always happens. I never skip it. So therefore people believe that, oh, if I start new habits, if I adopt new habits, I'm going to be able to build other things that I will do repeated like consistently, just like I do brushing the teeth. But actually this is not how it works. Here's why. Let's say that you move places. Oh wait, actually no. Let's take a more extreme example. Okay, you lost your house, you lost your job, and now for a while you're homeless. Well, as you are homeless, you're not going to be consistent with brushing your teeth. You're not going to be as consistent because that consistency, that habit happened because you wake up from the same bed, you go to the bathroom, it's automatic, the toothbrush is in the same place, all of this, all the things that we take for granted that make the habit to continue, it's because of our environment. It's because of where we are placed and being like in that very familiar place. But if you take that away, if you change all of that, well, you're not going to brush your teeth because well, when chaos happens and your life changes in radical ways, like when you get hit on all from all sides and everything is new, everything is chaotic, your whole habits are going to just go away because habits are not, they don't have staying power. They are just something that works in your current environment with your like familiar habits or familiar actions that you take every day. Take that away, the habits go away. So that's why they're not really as strong for this as most people think. Now let's talk about discipline. And actually, let me read the definition first. This is Claude. I asked to give like a definition just to see what the AI, what would be like the common understanding about it. Habits, and I'm reading. Dictionary definition: a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. Not necessarily true. An automatic reaction to a specific situation. Yes, correct. Every time when you drive to work and it's automatic and you take the same curb or you go out from the same parking space, yeah, it's just like happens automatic. But is that hard to actually is it hard to quit? No, it's not. It's actually based on that. Take that away, take the environment, take the parking lot and the building and the job and all of that, and habits go away. Not true. What it means in this context: a habit is a behavior your nervous system has automated, so it no longer costs conscious effort. Exactly, automatic. You don't decide to brush your teeth. Exactly. You just do it. Habits are powerful because they bypass willpower, but they are also fragile early on. They are fragile not early on. They are fragile every time, every second. If your life turns to chaos, if everything turns upside down, your habits are also very fragile. Here, AI really doesn't understand. Until a behavior is fully wired in, calling it a habit is generous. Most of people call habits are still intentions held together by mood. Yes, correct. But again, like I described, habits are not really that strong. They're just a good support system that works For as long as you function in the same environment, in the same, the same things happen every day the same way, and that's why. Let's talk about discipline, and I'm going to read first the dictionary definition and the explanation from the Claude. Dictionary definition: discipline, the practice of training oneself to obey rules or a code of behavior, controlled behavior resulting from such a training, self-control. Okay, so it's about self-control. Practice of training oneself to obey rules or a code of behavior, controlled behavior resulting from such a training and self-control. Okay, what it means in this context: discipline is the effortful capacity to do what you said you would do regardless of how you feel. It's expensive because it draws on willpower. It depletes throughout the day. Discipline is what you use when a behavior hasn't yet become automatic, and when the deeper reason isn't strong enough to pull you forward on its own. That is not true, because discipline is exactly about the reason that pulls you further to continue or to do things when it's hard, when you don't feel like doing it, and it's not a habit. The reason, the motivation, that intention that you have is really what gives discipline staying power. I don't think that's actually true. It's necessary not meant to be permanent. Relying on discipline forever is a sign something deeper hasn't been built. It's true. This part I agree, because eventually, if you use discipline, which is not a problem, and it's not as people say, like, oh, discipline, like you cannot really rely on it. You can, but only at a certain stage. Discipline is very good at the beginning, until it becomes who you are, until it becomes a habit, until it becomes something that you just do and you don't require that discipline. But discipline is a very important tool, especially at the beginning. Now let's talk about consistency. Dictionary definition: consistency, conformity in the application of something, the achievement of a level of performance that does not vary greatly in quality over time. Okay, let me try something more simple. Consistency is basically being consistent, that's kind of like circular, but it's being able to do and take the same action or repeat the same behavior day after day after day. Or if you're consistent on a weekly time frame or a monthly time frame, every week, every month, every year, you're still consistent. The time frame can be different, but that's what it means. Like, on a certain set time frame, you take the same action every single time without skipping the time frame. What it means in this context: consistency is showing up repeatedly over a long enough timeline that compounding can occur. It is not perfection or never missing, it's a high return rate. Is consistency not missing? Well, you see here, I feel like there is a gap in understanding Mr. Claude, because Claude says it's not perfection or never missing. Well, it depends on how much you miss. If you constantly miss, or you start to miss more than you are consistent, then you're no longer consistent. And I would also argue that consistency is or is not. The moment when you introduce breaks, you skip. When you're no longer consistent, like, that break is not really consistent. But again, here would be the difference into perfect consistency, like you literally don't skip at all, or you do it most of the times, but sometimes you might skip and you are still consistent. Okay, like that would be still acceptable. The person who trains 4 days a week for 10 years is consistent. Okay. The person who trains 7 days a week for 2 months and quits is not. Consistency is an outcome that becomes visible only in retrospect. You can't directly be consistent today. All right. So now we have, we read about habits, we read about discipline and consistency. And now let's discuss about Lifeline. Lifeline is a concept that I'm going to introduce. I'm actually writing a book. I'm not selling you anything. The book is in the making. It might take me another 7 months, 8 months. My goal is to finish this year. I'm trying um, to be to write on the book every day, because sometimes I have to record videos, and then like I won't be able to write every day, but I'm consistent with that. And I'm writing a book exactly about this, about what would be a better alternative to habits, something that is more stable, something that is not subject to chaos, something is not that is not subject to change, something that is not fragile and can be there with you for a lifetime, and it can help you to build, to design the life that you want. I'm writing a book, so then I just want to introduce this concept to you today. Again, for the moment when I record this video until the book will be published, it's going to be months. So nothing soon. I'm not doing this like to promote. It's just like a few ideas to discuss, and I'm just letting you know. Lifeline. Dictionary definition: a rope or rope or line thrown to save someone in danger, by extension, something existential for survival or continued existence. What it means in this context: a lifeline is the thing in your life you would protect at all costs, because losing it would unmake who you are. It operates at the level of identity, not preference. You don't try to maintain a lifeline, you simply cannot live without it. A parent doesn't need willpower to feed their child. The behavior is non-negotiable because the meaning behind it is non-negotiable. So, as you maybe know, if you have watched my first video at the beginning of the year on 1st of January 2026, in the past 5 years, I had a challenge to run every day consistently, but with no skips. And I did that for 5 years plus, and I'm continuing. Today, it was day 1970. And if you check how many days passed from 1st of January 2021, you will see that it passed 1969, but today I ran the day 1970. This is how I know it, because if you wake me up at 4 a.m. and you ask me what is the running day number, I can tell you, because I never skip, because that is always in my mind. If I cannot run in the morning, I set 5 alarms, so I just do it. For example, today I ran one time, but towards the end I forgot to actually finish the tracking because I was tracking, and then a few hours later I realized that I have to run again, and I did. So today I ran twice. The second time I recorded, so then it's there recorded. So it's that serious. Now, running in my case, it is my lifeline. But this lifeline is something that I have built. It's not something that I had. For example, you see here, Claude says that lifeline is something that you cannot go without, because that is who you are. Well, when you are committed to this level that you are not going to skip a single day, no matter what, you are building that lifeline. But again, you don't have it, so then it's something that you just build every day and you never stop. And if you ever stop, well, it kind of like goes away. But yeah, I never did that because it's an absolute commitment, and this is exactly why I'm going to write a book about this, because it's a very powerful concept. The more I thought about it, the more I spoke sometimes with my coaching clients, I realized that it's a very powerful. I forgot to look at the camera, so but when I'm in my mind, I'm just like looking around. So sometimes I talk to my coaching clients, and I have different coaching clients on the same path. They started their own lifeline. Some do meditation, some do the running, some do other things, and it's a very powerful concept that I want to extract the value that I built in all these years, and transform it into a framework that I can give to a stranger that reads the book, that then this powerful idea will transform their life. So that is in work in progress. So why is an absolute commitment important? But before that, let's actually read what Claude says about commitment and the dictionary definition. Commitment. Dictionary definition: the state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity, or person, a pledge or obligation that restricts freedom of action. What it means in this context: a commitment is a decision you already made, so you stop having to make it again every morning. Most people confuse commitment with intensity. Actually, you know what? Before this, let me address this. This part actually is not true. Because you see, commitment is not something that you do one time and you don't have to make that decision again. This is proven in multiple different contexts. For example, people who are married, if they've been married, these couples that have been married like for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And sometimes after a long period of time, they renew their vows. Well, when they renew their vows after 30 years of marriage, they are renewing their commitment. And by the way, this is literally a wrong understanding. And this is why I'm going to write this book, because you see, even if I ask Claude that has access to all this knowledge, it gets it wrong. Commitment is not something that you just do one day, and the same commitment is going to be the action that will help you to continue 8 months, 4 years later. No, there you're going to be a different person with a different life, different things, and the only thing that will help you is to recommit. You have forgotten about your commitment, or like, not forgotten, that is there. It's more like it's floating. That commitment is still floating, but it's not really the thing that will make you now be consistent. It's a big misunderstanding. I'll give you an example just for you to understand. When I started my challenge to run every day, it was initially for 1 year. So on 1st of January 2021, I just woke up with this idea that, I know I'm going to just run every day for an entire year. I read a blog post a few months prior from a guy that I've been following his work. His name is Steve Pavlina, and he did this challenge, but it was just for 1 year. And I read it months ago. I forgot about it, nothing. But when I woke up on 1st of January 2021, I woke up with this idea, I'm going to run every day for 1 year, no exception. And interesting enough, in that moment, I knew that I'm not going to skip. I knew that I'm not going to, I was committed like I've never been before. But again, I realized years later, in fact, pretty recently, when I started to write on the book and to try to draw all of that value into formalizing, structuring it, packaging it so I can give to other people, then I realized, oh my God, but that's actually not true. It's not that commitment on 1st of January 2021 that helped me, for example, in November 2021, when I was running with back pain, like intense back pain. I was limping to the running, and I was running 5 km every day for the last 3 months of the year. That was definitely not the commitment. The commitment was not the one that I made in January that helped me to show up to the running track. I remember I was running in Valencia, Spain, and it was like on the side of the beach, and I would look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be super painful. Like 5 km running, every single step would actually hurt. And I'm sure that it was not the commitment I made in January. It was the commitment that I made today. I said, like, you know what, I'm going to take it day by day. I just have to show up today, do the running. That's it. I don't think about anything else, because I know if I would have think about, oh my God, I have another few months of this or whatever, it would just be overwhelming. I would just, I don't know, negotiate with myself. And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to recommit. Now I'm doing it. That's it. So important to understand that, you see, Claude doesn't really know how this works in real life. This is just like dictionary definition, but not really. It's kind of like, it sounds good on paper if you read it, but if you are consistent to that level, you will understand that, well, that's not true. Commitment is something that you make and remake and you remake. Of course, you have an overarching commitment that in my case, I made years ago, and that is still always in there, kind of like encompasses everything. But on a daily level, especially when it's hard, when it's chaotic, when it's painful, I'm sick, whatever, it's a commitment that I have to do right now. No, 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 no. Just like I commit, I do it now. So what it means in this context, a commitment is a decision you already made. You stop having to make it again every morning. Natural. Sometimes it is true, because for a few, if you make a commitment, I will give you an example where this is true. If you make a commitment and then let's say everything kind of like follows smoothly, you just go and run and nothing happens and you just do it every day. Yeah, you are not making the same commitment every day, because you made this few weeks ago and life is good and nothing is chaos, and then you just do it every day. In this case, it's true. But guess what? When life turns chaotic, when there is pain, when there is some sort of conflict, life turns upside down, no, that won't be enough. You have to make the commitment again, because again, now there is an opposing force that you have to fight, and you have to master that strength right now. The commitment that you made 5 months ago, it's gone. It will not help you now. But again, in like as an overarching idea, yeah, still that is still there. Most people confuse commitment with intensity or intensity of desire, but real commitment is structural. It removes options. Yes, I agree with that. This one I learned it a few years ago when I did keto diet. I did keto diet for a few months, and this was the best example of like restricting options. I remember I would go to a supermarket and I would literally look like this, and I'm like, nope, 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 no, 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 nah. Okay, there you go. That's the meat section. That's it. That's where I go. Meat, butter, eggs. That's it. And yeah, it was definitely, it felt like I have restricted everything, and it was pretty liberating, to be honest. It was an liberating feeling to know that I don't have to think like, do I buy this, do I buy that? Like, none of it, all of them are not for me. So in that sense, yes. When you are committed, you are not asking yourself, do I feel like it today? You have taken that question off the table. Commitment is what lets you act in alignment with your future self rather than your current mood. I agree. This is what I call, for example, my running, I call it like an absolute commitment. This is not just like regular commitment, because we all have commitments here and there, but none of them are really absolute. And if you really look at what people call commitments, they are just negotiables. I've heard in all these years, I heard, a few people saying like, oh, you run every day? Yeah, I also run every day. And I said like, oh, amazing. Okay, what number are you at? I'm like, oh, I'm not tracking. I'm like, okay, but you run every day. They say yes. And then I said like, but do you ever skip like a day? And they think, and they were like, oh yeah, it was like it was like, I think 7 months ago, yeah, I was like, it was a funeral, like I couldn't, so, but that's just like one time. I said like, okay, so that's like, you're super consistent, but that's not like an absolute commitment. An absolute commitment is something that you do not skip no matter what. Like it's a completely different thing, and that's why I'm writing a book about this, because it will change the life of many people. I believe the idea is very powerful. It definitely changed my life. So now let's discuss about how they relate. What's the relationship between all these concepts? Think of them as a vertical structure. Underneath everything sits commitment. The decision that holds the rest in place. Discipline is what you use in early stages while the behavior is still effortful. Correct. As you repeat the behavior under discipline, it eventually compresses into a habit that runs on its own. When commitment, discipline, and habits work together over time, the result is consistency. Correct. When something becomes so woven into who you are that you would defend, it's like your own life. It has become a lifeline. Yeah. Actually, I think he got most of it correct. Each layer reduces the cost of next. Commitment makes discipline easier. Yes. Discipline builds habits. Yeah. Habits make consistency cheap. I guess, yeah. But you see, one thing to add here, running every day, for example, something that is effortful, something that you have to attend to, something that you have to protect against chaos, that's not a habit. It's not a habit because it's effortful. Habit is automatic. Habit is like you are not using your mind. When you brush your teeth, it's just like automatic. When you go run, especially at the beginning when you are building that, it's not a habit. It's just something that you are building. Each layer reduces the cost of next. Commitment makes discipline easier. Discipline builds habit. Why they matter? Um, Almost nothing meaningful in life is produced by a single action. Health, mastery, relationship. Sorry, someone is calling me, but okay, I'm not going to respond. That's okay. Let's see. There is a bit of chaos in here. Someone is calling me and I'm recording, but I am absolutely committed. This is what we have to do. So then, yeah, I guess they have to wait. So why they matter? Almost nothing meaningful in life is produced by a single action. Health, mastery, relationships, financial stability, creative work, all of them are compounding games, correct? They reward people who can keep showing up across years, not people who can sprint for a week, correct? Without commitment, habits, discipline, and consistency, you remain at the mercy of your moods, and your life becomes a reflection of how you happen to feel rather than what you actually wanted. And that is very correct. Why most people struggle with consistency? 3 reasons. First, they try to brute force. I still get calls. This is very disturbing, but at the same time, I have to do this. This is today, so it's a bit of chaos in here, but you can see me how I deal with this. Like I literally get calls after calls, messages after messages, and yeah. Well, yeah, some people they don't really understand to give others some space, but it's okay. You see my commitment in real time. Why most people struggle with consistency? 3 reasons. First, they try to brute force consistency through discipline alone without building the commitment underneath. Discipline is a finite resource when it runs out, and it always does. The behavior collapses and they blame themselves for being weak when the real problem was a missing foundation. Second, they treat consistency as a perfection standard. One missed day feels like failure. Here, I would also add one more thing. When you have like an absolute consistency or like an absolute commitment like I do, well, that's a different thing. It's not like you're going to allow yourself to skip. You're not going to allow yourself to go like, oh yeah, like I can skip, but I'm still consistent. This is the very big difference between what most people think about commitment and what is actually a strong and absolute commitment. For example, I've been getting calls, I've been getting messages here, but because this is the last day when I have to shoot and record this video so I can publish one video at least per week, like I said, I don't stop. Like I just don't stop because I have no choice. I didn't give myself a choice and that's it. But you see, I'm recommitting right now when I'm getting messages, when I'm getting calls, when I'm getting all of this, I'm getting many calls. I guess it's a person that just cannot wait. But when I'm getting all of this, I could actually just stop the recording and say like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to just attend to this because it's important and all of that. But at the same time, I have to recommit again. It's chaotic, but I have to stand my ground. And by the way, the lights died. All right. So let's wrap up the video and let me see. Habits are good, but they are not good to get you to where you want. They don't have the staying power to help you to build and design the life that you want. Really, what is necessary is for you to make an absolute commitment. And an absolute commitment is something that most people, and when I mean most people, I checked, I don't know, I asked, a few months ago, I asked Claude and I said like, hey, how many people have run every day for 2000 days? And Claude said like, I don't know, you're in a very minority, 0.00 something, I don't know, maybe maybe 500 to 1000 people on planet earth. That's what Claude says. I don't know, but this is something that most people don't do. And although most people understand commitment and they are serious about things, they don't have absolute commitment, as in like, I'm not going to skip no matter what. And yeah, that's why I'm writing a book. It's going to be very good value because I didn't see this anywhere. Nobody really sit down to actually first to do it. I did it for 5 years and I'm continuing, of course, and then to structure, to extract that value, to formalize it, put it, packaging it, so you can give it to someone else, so they get their life also transformed. My life was transformed by this habit, and yeah, I'm working on building a structure, writing a book also for you, but this is months away. So yeah, for now I can just wrap up the video, and I'm going to see you next week.